Welcome into the Paul Farrington Show, a quick reaction to Pete Carroll becoming the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. If you've been enjoying the content we're putting out, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. AFC and NFC Championship weekend, a lot of people's favorite weekend in the NFL. The Super Bowl's right around the corner. It is crazy how fast it all goes, but at the same time, when it feels like there's not so much to talk about this week other than the two games, Aaron Glenn to the Jets, Ben Johnson to the Bears, you have Liam Cohen to the Jaguars, and now Pete Carroll to the Raiders. It really just never ends with football. There's always something to talk about, and that's why it's so much fun here. And when you look at the AFC West head coaches, you got Andy Reid, you got Jim Harbaugh, Sean Payton, right? Three legendary coaches, three of the best coaches in the history of the sport, not just my lifetime, for instance. And I thought Antonio Pierce did a really nice job coming in a couple of years ago. That team had no reason to play. He had them motivated. He had them winning a few games. But ultimately, in the NFL, if you don't have a very talented roster, it's hard to win games. It's hard enough to win when you have a very good team, let alone when you have the type of team the Raiders had this season. So Antonio Pierce, he did the best he could in a bad situation. But ultimately, the Raiders decide to move on. And when you look at what they need, what this team needs, you're going to see the word CEO type a lot to discuss Pete Carroll. And I think that's exactly what Las Vegas has needed for a long time now. This is a team, I'm looking at their record by season here. This is a team that has 0 division titles since 2002. They've made the playoffs twice since 2002. They've won more than 8 games in a season twice since 2002. And listen to this, guys. 4 wins, 5 wins, 4 wins, 2, 4, 5, 5, 8, 8, 4, 4, 3, 7, 12 in 2016. Hey, we lose the wild card round. 6, 4, 7, 8, 10. Hey, 10. Lose the wild card round. 6, 8, 4. That's a lot of losing. I mean, I don't care who you're a fan of. Even Browns fans will look at that and go, oh, yeah, that's a lot of losing, too. The Raiders are not a winning organization. They don't have a winning culture. Listen to the head coaches since 2003. Callahan, Turner, Shell, Kiffin, Cable, Jackson, Allen, Sperano, Allen. No, that was the fill-in coach. Del Rio, Gruden, Bisaccia for half a season. McDaniels, Pierce. You have teams like this, the Steelers, and it's like, oh, Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin's been there. You have teams like the Packers. It's like, oh, we have Mike McCarthy. Now we have had LaFleur for several seasons. I mean, even the Vikings, I feel like we have a lot of coaches, but not that kind of instability. And you've even had some years, like Derek Carr was a good quarterback for a while. You didn't win with him either. It's been a shit show in Vegas or Oakland for a long time. And the reason I'd be excited if I'm a Raiders fan is because I do think that Pete Carroll can come in and start changing that. I know a lot of you guys probably want Ben Johnson, but Ben Johnson feels to me, and look, if you had got Ben Johnson, yes, you can celebrate. He was the most coveted coach this offseason. But another thing when you look at Ben Johnson is first-time head coach. There will probably be some bumps there in Chicago. First off, it's the Bears. But second, when you have a new coach coming in, usually there's an adjustment. There's some sort of learning curve there. And what's also great for Ben Johnson in Chicago is that team is more ready to win. You have Caleb Williams. You have DJ Moore. You have a defense that had been surging towards the end of the season. You had a lot of pieces in place to win now. It's just going to take the right guy to get Caleb in the right place. And I think that's a perfect fit for them. The ceiling's really high. The ceiling's not that high in Vegas for next season. Even if you're excited about Pete Carroll, you're probably not going to win many games. We'll see what happens at quarterback. But regardless, I'd be very surprised if you saw a highly competitive Raiders team in terms of getting to the playoffs, right? It's going to take a little bit of time to get there. What you want from Pete Carroll, and what I think you're going to get, is someone who's going to look up and down that organization and say, from the front office down to the very last player on the practice squad, we need to change our culture to a winning culture. That's what Dan Campbell did when he got into Detroit, right? That's a losing organization. That's an organization that's been really bad for a really long time. And he said, trust the process. We're going to get there. Now, part of trusting the process is actually trusting the process, right? If you say, yeah, I'm all in, Dan, I'm all in, Pete, like, let's do this. And then after an 0-6 start or a 2-8 start, you go, ooh, this isn't working. Time to move on. Time for more upheaval. That's when you get these situations where are you ever really going to be able to establish something if you don't give it time to work out, right? So if the Raiders next year start off 2-6, and that's very possible, I think, because I don't believe in this roster right now, but Pete Carroll's doing the right things and getting the right people in place so that in a season or two, you're going to be good. If you blow that up, that's on you, right? You have to have some level of trust in the vision. And the Raiders don't have a vision very often. When's the last time you looked at the Raiders and said, yeah, like I like what we're doing here? It doesn't happen very much with them. So set the winning culture, right? Start building up your team because you have guys like Brock Bowers and Max Crosby, like I was saying, but there are so many holes. It takes a full team, regardless of what you might say on this show or what you see in the media. Like it takes a great team to win, not just a quarterback. So build the team and get your quarterback when you're ready. They have the 6th pick in the draft right now. Okay. If their quarterback falls, I doubt you see Cam Ward or Shador or whoever it is they're targeting. They'd probably have to move up for him. Unless you're completely in love with a guy. Don't panic here, right? Build up the team and get the players you need at the positions you need and build it up. When the quarterback comes, he will come. Now, you can't wait forever, but all I'm saying is don't rush into that decision. Don't go all in on a guy that you don't believe in, because that's when you set yourself back. Start building up this team, filling in the holes that need to be fixed, okay? And then ideally, I'm not expecting Pete to be coaching when he's 77 or 78 years old. Maybe he's pretty spry for his age. But ideally, by that time, 1, you'll have your quarterback and you will be winning some games. But 2, you'll have a culture in place where when Pete steps aside, maybe he becomes an assistant in football operations or something. When Pete steps aside, though, you have the replacement ready, or at least you have the culture ready that a coach can come into and embrace and continue that winning trajectory. You need to change. I was listening to Aaron Glenn the other day talk to the Lions. I don't know when it was from. It was probably earlier this season. And he was just saying the habits that we have, things need to change now, right? Now it's time to get back to winning ways, to feeling good. He was making comparisons. I can't remember who he was talking to, but he's talking to guys from Ohio State, and other winning programs in college football, saying, you transfer away from a school where you're constantly losing. You wake up, you think you're going to lose. When you're at Ohio State, you wake up and you think you're going to win. That's the mindset you need. Raiders fans are probably waking up every Sunday and they're going, oh, here we go again, another disaster in the wings. Chiefs fans are waking up and they're saying, we're going undefeated. We're winning today. That needs to be back in the Raiders organization, that winning culture. And Pete Carroll's not, it might not work. I don't want to sit up here and say for sure it's going to work out with Pete. It might not. You never know. But I think Pete, as much as any coach, has a chance of establishing a winning culture. Something, again, that the Raiders have been lacking for a long time. I thought that Aaron Glenn video was so cool, too. Like, it made me really look at the Jets situation and say, that's exactly what the Jets need to do as well. That's what the Jets are trying to do as well. Establish a winning culture. Pete's going to be 74 in September. He'll be the oldest coach in NFL history, but I still think he brings great enthusiasm, great positivity. He's just someone you want in your locker room. Look at Seattle before he got there. They had a couple really bad seasons. They were not in a great place. Obviously, it helps that Russell Wilson turned into who Russell Wilson is, but Pete Carroll was part of that in terms of bringing in that defense and creating the Legion of Boom and having so much success with those players. That's kind of what you're hoping for here. And remember, Russell Wilson wasn't a first-round draft pick. Russell Wilson emerged in the preseason and took over from Matt Flynn when everyone thought Matt Flynn was going to have the job after he had that 6-touchdown game with the Packers. So you're kind of looking for that exact thing. Recapture that magic that he had in Seattle, where he took a franchise that had not been performing well and turned them around pretty quickly. I mean, it was pretty quick there. It wasn't the first year that they went to the playoffs, but they were winning in a short amount of time. They got the GM, Spytek, I think it is, out of Tampa Bay, who Liam Cohen wanted to bring with him to Jacksonville. Get the right guys in the building. No matter what you do, you can't do it by yourself. If you have the right people in the building, you're making the right decisions, and you're able to go top to bottom, smart people in that organization, it's going to start to work out here. Another fun thing will be the Pete Carroll, Jim Harbaugh rivalry continues. Stanford, USC, then you had Seattle and San Francisco, and now Las Vegas and LA. So that'll be fun just to see that continue. I mean, two of the best coaches, like I said, of all time, going at it again. I think it's a great move for the Raiders. I know that there are probably some other guys people wanted, but at the very least, it'll be entertaining. Pete Carroll is always fun to have at the podium. He usually says the right things. He's someone that you could get behind to lead your organization. And it has Tom Brady's stamp of approval too, whatever that's worth for you Raiders fans out there. Tom Brady was in Mark Davis's ear on this decision. Clearly, he signed off on Pete. And I think that the Raiders have finally done something. You know, you look on Twitter of all the Raiders fans that are saying, finally, we hired a coach who has a winning background, winning experiences. And it's not just, like, again, I like Antonio Pierce, but Antonio Pierce had never coached before. Like, it was, you were taking a risk on him. Pete Carroll, you kind of have an idea of what's coming into the building. Whether or not that works, we'll see. But something the Raiders desperately need is to change that culture. So I feel good. I feel good for the Raiders here. Again, you're going to have to wind up getting the quarterback at some point. That's something we've talked about on this show quite a bit lately, is the importance of quarterback. And, Jack is obviously a quarterback is everything. I'm a little bit more build up the team and understanding the importance of the quarterback position, of course. But I like to have a great roster around the QB as well. Shoot me. I don't know who it's going to be in Vegas. It could be a trade up for Shedeur Cam Ward. Sam Darnold's name's been thrown around. I'm sure Raiders fans would be pissed at that, but that's a much higher floor than what you got this year with O'Connell. I mean, there are probably some people who want to keep going with O'Connell and see what happens. But it's all about, building that winning culture and then having the right quarterback come in at the right time, preferably on those rookie deals. That's when you're able to take advantage of these situations. But you're going to need the quarterback at some point, because you're competing with, like I said, Mahomes, Justin Herbert, and Bo Nix in your division, straight up in your division, let alone the conference with Josh Allen, Lamar, Burrow, and all these guys. The AFC is wild. So I think for the Raiders, again, it's a good move. Get things going in the right direction. All these teams, it's exciting for all of them. Ben Johnson in Chicago, Aaron Glenn, New York, Cohen in Jacksonville. Who am I blanking on? Vrabel in New England. I think that's probably lower ceiling than some of these other hires, but another guy who's going to come in and build the right culture. That's what you're seeing with a lot of these hires right now. Culture setters. And they're for the teams that have needed it now. So we'll have more content coming out this weekend. The conference championship games roll on. Maybe at some point, a Liam Cohen to Jacksonville reaction. I need to dive into that a little bit more. But I wanted to hit this one because Pete Carroll is a name that when you see Pete Carroll in the news, you got to react to that, right? That's how big of a name he is in this sport. And I think for Raiders fans, you should be excited. So see you later.